I'll sort of actually be sharing 2 positive habits. These habits are communicate effectively and be unapologetic for living a lifestyle of compassion. So just a disclaimer before I begin, this is not a video about why you should eat plant-based. This is a video about communication and living from your values. So I recently watched a talk given at a conference by Colleen Patrick-Goudreau. She is an author, educator, and speaker. Her talk focused on living from your values and how to stop making excuses for living in any other way. While I was watching this talk, I was really blown away by Colleen's joyfulness and her effective communication skills. One of my biggest takeaways from this talk was that if I'm living from my values of compassion, there's no reason for me to apologize to other people for it. For example, if I've removed all of the animal products from my diet because of the horrors and cruelty that exists in factory farming and animal agriculture, there's no reason that I need to apologize to anybody if it inconveniences them or makes them feel uncomfortable. There are honest and respectful ways to communicate with others who do not share or act on these same values. And I'll share 10 of those effective communication strategies with you in a minute. So of course, animal cruelty and exploitation and suffering is a real serious issue. But Colleen is able to communicate it and communicate the reality of it in a way that is informative, non-judgmental, welcoming, and inspirational. I always tell myself the story that I'm not a good communicator. The truth is that I can get better and I can practice by implementing these 10 effective strategies for communication. And the goal of effective communication isn't necessarily to persuade anybody to have a certain view, but to simply be able to speak my truth and feel confident in living the way that I do from the values that I hold, while listening to what the other person has to say. It's so easy to become emotional and reactive when someone disagrees with us or tells us that we're wrong in a disrespectful or seemingly hostile way. So here are Colleen's 10 effective communication strategies that we can all benefit from. Number 1, create intention. So before you communicate with anyone, what's the intention that you hold in regards to the communication? An example of an intention that Colleen gives us in her podcast is she wants to speak her truth respectfully and joyfully without being attached to how the other person will be affected by it. Number 2, practice active listening. Give the other person cues that show them that you're hearing what they're saying and you're listening. Number 3, ask questions. Asking questions when someone is speaking to you can make them feel special and make them feel heard. And you can ask things like, well, why do you feel that way? Why do you think that? Why is this important to you? And even, what are you afraid of? Number 4, have a sense of humor. Sometimes when we are in passionate discussions about certain things, people can get uncomfortable. And often when people are uncomfortable, they will make jokes, whether the jokes be appropriate or inappropriate. But we can all benefit from lightening up a little bit and, if appropriate, having a laugh together. Number 5, know where you end and the other person begins. So don't be attached to how your words might affect somebody else, but also don't let other people's words, thoughts, opinions throw you into a tizzy. Number 6, find common ground. Despite having our own values and views and political tendencies, we are bound to have something in common with anyone we meet. So it's important to find those places where we can share common ground. And it's also important to not tell each other that you're wrong and I'm right. It's helpful to say things like, well, I disagree, or I understand where you're coming from, but I just don't agree with you on that. Number 7, have courage and confidence in your convictions. Colleen says be honest, confident, and humble. If somebody brings up something that they've heard in regards to the topic you're talking about, you can say, well, I'm not sure I've heard that, I haven't read that specific article, but I can say blah blah blah, and then you can say, well, what you know from your experience, and you can say that with confidence because that is your truth, but be sensitive. Number 8, clarify what you're hearing. A lot of times we tend to hear things that were never said when we are in a sort of argument with someone. Not a screaming match, but when you go back and forth with someone about a certain topic, even in a respectful way, I guess you could still call it an argument. We hear what we want to hear or what we expect to hear, Colleen says, and sometimes we piece things together in our head that were actually not part of what the other person has said. So it's good to clarify by saying, what I'm hearing is this and this. Is that what you're saying? And then the other person can either confirm or further explain what they're saying. Number 9, speak from the I. I know I'm saying you a lot, which maybe I can switch around in the future, but let's start now. When I say, when you buy animal products, this is Colleen's example, when you buy animal products, you contribute to violence. Instead of saying, when we buy animal products, we contribute to a violent system. There's such an accusatory tone when I say you rather than when I say I or we. And it helps us to have people relate to us if we speak from the I or the we rather than the you. And number 10, don't have philosophical debates on the internet. So online, it's really hard to apply these effective communication strategies. It's hard to understand exactly how they meant to say the text that was written. And we often react to each other online with so much emotion without giving ourselves time to cool down. So I'm definitely guilty of not implementing these effective communication strategies, and I'm hopefully going to be doing a better job at this. Especially lately, I've been posting a lot of animal advocacy links on my Facebook page, expecting my friends to, adapt the plant-based lifestyle after being inspired by these images and texts. In reality, they're probably all just blocking me. So for me, finding Colleen's work is really a game changer. And I see it as the best way to have intelligent, effective communication with each other on this planet. I love having a structure and strategies that I can use to improve my efficacy as an advocate for compassion and health. So Colleen has tons of information on her website. She has books, she has a podcast that just turned 10 years old, and she has a YouTube channel. I will link all of these things below. Her podcast is called Food for Thought, and there are 2 episodes dedicated to these 10 effective communication strategies. And in these podcast episodes, she really goes much deeper into each of these 10 strategies. So I highly recommend that you give them a listen. I'd love to hear from you about your thoughts and experience with effective communication in the comments below. If you found this information and video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe.